What's going on, everybody? I can't even begin to express how excited I am for this video. If you somehow missed the title of this video, we are going to be building a DIY binaural microphone. Now, for those of you who don't know what a binaural microphone is, it's a specialized stereo microphone where the left and right capsules, instead of just being out in the open, they're actually housed within the canals of prosthetic ears. And these are used to not only capture a sound source, but they're also used to capture the location of that sound. And that is why they use the prosthetic ears. The way that our brains are designed, they are able to decode reverb information. So let's say, for example, we have a sound source that comes from off to our right. We're going to get that direct audio source into our right ear, but we're also going to hear all of the reflections and that bounce into our left ear. And our brains are able to decode the timing differences to say, hey, that audio source came from over here. So that's what we're going to be getting into. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. And if you'd like to be a part of the Sound Effects Guy Discord server, you'll find a link in the description below. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, so before we get started with this build, I am going to go through all of the pieces first. And I will have a link to everything that we're going to be using in the description below. They are Amazon affiliate links. So if you want to try and build this, and you don't mind using the links below, not only will you get the parts to build it, but it'll also help me out as well. But let's dive into all the pieces first. And then chances are, because this is going to take a little while, the actual building will probably be sped up montage, but I will stop and explain things as I'm doing them and before I do. So to go over all the parts, the first thing that we're going to be using is our mannequin head here. It's just a cheap styrofoam mannequin head that I picked up online. He comes pretty badass with his little cheek scar and thanks shipping. And yeah, that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using these silicone prosthetic ears. Now, these are ears used for piercing practice, but they are, as far as I can tell, they do seem to be molded from an actual ear, mainly because if you look in here, it looks like somebody forgot to clean out all the earwax before they molded it. So, but basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to try and carve out the space, because you can see that this has kind of a ledge here on it. So we're going to try and carve out a space so that this sits down flush within the styrofoam head. From there, we're going to be cutting out the ear canal, because we're going to be using the microphone capsules from this. This is a stereo microphone, just a DIY build project. I got this several years ago when I was in college in my electronics class and learning how to solder. And so this was just a stereo microphone project that they had us do. So while mine cost me, about $80,000, you can pick them up online for about 15 bucks. So because this is already built and I built it years ago, I'm not going to be going through how to actually build this. If you do pick it up using the link in the description below, it comes with instructions that shows you how to solder everything together. But basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to decouple these microphones from the circuit board, and we're going to be putting them in the holes for the ear canal. And so I've got speaker wire, which the cheapest wire I could find was 100-foot spool. I only need a couple feet, maybe, but it is what it is. And then I've got some soldering wire, and I also have, and I picked this up brand new, but super cheap, a full soldering kit. None of this is sponsored, but like I said, I do have affiliate links below so that you can pick this up, follow along, and hopefully we can build a binaural microphone together. So in total, I think this whole setup, including all of the provisionary stuff like the soldering kit, speaker cable, the soldering wire, was right around, I think like 93 bucks. So if you compare that to like the 3DO, even the lower end one that's 300, or the actual Neumann binaural head, which is 9 grand, we're doing this a lot cheaper. Is it going to sound as good? Probably not. And unfortunately, I don't have a 3DO or the Neumann binaural microphones to test it against. But at the end of this video, once we've got this thing all built, we will be going through and testing it. So if you have headphones, get them ready, because you will need headphones in order to experience this whole testing. So with that being said, we're gonna get started. Like I said, I'm gonna carve out a hole on each side of the head so that we can recess these ears down into it. I also just realized one of the bad things about silicone is it picks up everything. I don't know if you guys can really see it, but every little fuzzy, I have cats, so cat hair, it sticks to these ears, but with a little water, they're pretty easy to clean off. Just make sure that you clean them off and then install your microphones. Don't try to clean them with water after installing your microphones. So yeah, let's get to building. All right, so we've got both our ears in. Obviously, we've got a bit of a mess to clean before we move forward. But yeah, they don't look too bad. They fit in there quite well. They're actually quite snug, even. So we'll get this cleaned up, and the next thing that we're going to be doing is we are going to be cutting a small hole inside the actual silicone ear so that we can mark the styrofoam, try to make a tunnel connection. All right, so now that we have our pilot holes, each of bored out sections of the styrofoam head, we can go ahead and try to connect them to this middle tunnel. All right, so I've got the tunnels connected, and I ran some speaker wire through here just to make sure that the tunnel was large enough to handle both wires. And so now comes the fun part of decoupling these microphones from circuit board. right, so now that we've got our two microphones decoupled from the circuit board, we need to do a test fit just to make sure we're able to get these in. I did bore them out a little bit, but I didn't want to go overkill until I got these off the board. All right, so it looks like we actually nailed the hole size. Because one of the good things about silicone being stretchy is I can kind of wrap it around, but that's also going to help hold it in place. And I don't know how well you can see that cone in there, but it looks like it's actually going to be a pretty good placement. So now we just need to trim up our wires and wire it to the board. So now that we've got our microphones wired up, we're going to go ahead and slide them through the ear, through our tunnels, and attach them to the board. So I now have the left ear mounted to the board, and I noticed something while doing so. Like I mentioned, I had built this board several years ago in my electronics class in college, and I got a good grade on it. However, apparently what they didn't check was whether I had my left and right speakers hooked up together or correctly. Because while I have the left ear plugged in, I just tested it just to make sure that I am getting a solid connection here. And I am. However, I originally had it connected to the mic left, and it was coming out of the right speaker. So instead of trying to troubleshoot the board, I just went ahead and soldered this to the microphone right, put my headphones on, did a test, and I hear it in the left, and it is the left speaker. So we're just gonna roll with it and pretend like it didn't happen. So now it's time to hook up the other microphone. All right, and so there we have it. It's finished. I've run the microphones in the ear canals into the tunnel. I carved out a small channel just so that those wires sit a little more flush. And obviously these mounted into styrofoam is not stable by any stretch of the imagination. But now comes the part that I both have been waiting for. What do you say we go hear how this sounds? So for this first test, which I've called the knock test.
I am the one who knocks.
What I've done is I've set the microphone up in the middle of my bathroom because my bathroom is super reflective, and I hit record, which this binaural microphone is running into the input of my Zoom H6. That's where I'm recording everything. And essentially I've walked around the bathroom and just knocked on different walls and things of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and black out the screen just so you're not biased to seeing where I'm walking in the room, and just try to listen and make sure you have headphones on to hear where those knocks are coming from. Now, the microphones are very hot and I am very fat, so please excuse the heavy breathing in the background. I'm not editing this audio at all. This is coming directly from the H6. So for this next test, I wanted to be more of a real world application. So originally I was going to try and go out to the beach or something, but I realized that there is just a plethora of sounds that happen in my apartment complex. Because it's an apartment complex, there's always traffic. I live near a pond with a fountain, so you hear that. I also live very close to an airport, so there's constantly planes flying overhead. There's kids playing, dogs barking. My neighbors have chickens. So there's just a lot of sounds that kind of happen around me. So instead of traveling, I just went and set it out on my balcony. And this clip, at the expense of making this video probably longer than it should be, I am going to play this clip in its entirety. It's about 2.5 minutes. And just let me know in the comments how well you think this microphone does at putting you in this environment and localizing sound. All right, guys, so that is going to wrap things up for this video. A build video is completely different than what I typically do here on my channel, so hopefully it was something you enjoyed, and hopefully this is a project that will allow you to build one on your own. So in total, I spent less than $100 on this build, whereas like I had mentioned, even the low-end 3DO binaural microphones are about $300 to $400 depending on, you know, which one you get. So hopefully this was something you enjoyed. If you'd like to see more of this type of stuff, let me know in the comments below, or as I mentioned, you can get a hold of me on the Sound Effects Guy Discord server. Until next time.